Welcome back, dear students, to this concluding video on subroutines, still under C programming. We introduced subroutine with the basic concept. We went through examples on how to call subroutines, how to write subroutines. We saw the different types of subroutine that we have in C. We saw the procedure, and we saw the function, and we saw the differences between both. We went through some examples that we concluded in the last video. In this video, we are going to enlighten ourselves on passing arguments to function. As you've noticed, since we introduced subroutine, we've passed our argument by value. So the way by which we're calling our function, we call that passing argument by value. Hence, the values of the actual argument are copied to the formal parameters of the function, and the changes made to the values of the formal parameters inside the function are not reflected back in the calling function. Meaning that what? When we are going to have an example for that, another way by which argument could be passed is by reference, because for those of you who went through algorithm, you saw that there are two ways of passing argument to function: by value and by reference. In this method, that is passing values by reference, the addresses of the actual argument are passed to the formal parameters of the function, and the changes made in the values pointed to by the formal parameters in the called function are reflected back to the calling function. For a call by reference to be done in C, the actual parameters of the subroutine should be pointers, and when calling the subroutines, the argument should be addresses of the variable. Consider the schema below. So I have this particular program, I have my library. Then you realize that this is the subroutine change that takes two I parameters x and y. Then it changes y by reducing its value by 5, and it changes x by reducing its value by 5, and it changes y by increasing its value by 6. Then we have update, which is being having argument passed by reference. That's why you have pointers x and y. But in this case now, it does the same thing as the subroutine change. Now you realize that here the values passed will be by value, whereas here will be by reference because of the pointers. So what do we have? I have my four parameters A, B, C, and D. Then here I initialize all the 5. This particular initialization is possible. That is A, B, C, and D all have the same value, which is 5. Now, the values of A and B before changing are, we print the values of A and B. Then we call the function change, which changes the values of X and Y. Then when we print the values of A and B after the change, we are going to see if actually the subroutine changes, if actually the subroutine change has actually changed the values of A and B. Then I do the same thing now, but instead I'm using C and D, and I'm using the update subroutine. And you see that since here my parameters were pointers, you see that to pass by argument I'm using addresses, and addresses are using the ampersand notation. So after that, you print the values of C and D after the subroutine update has been called, and you realize that this is the output we have. So the values of A and B before changing are 5 and 5. After changing, still 5 and 5, meaning that what the subroutine change does not actually change the actual values of the parameters. You see that X and Y, that is the values of A and B that were passed as argument to the subroutine change, were only changed inside this subroutine, but in the main function they were not changed. But when we do the same thing now with subroutine that perform the same function, but this time around using pointers as parameters, it actually changes their values. As you can see, C and D before updating are 5 and 5. Then after update, you see that C is now 0 because was represented by X, and the value has reduced by 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. Same for Y, which has increased by 6. That's why we have 11. So I think that from this output, you can already see how passing by value and passing by reference actually affects the argument we are passing. By value, the change is reflected only within the subroutine, whereas by value, the change is reflected only within the subroutine, whereas by reference, it is reflected within the subroutine and by the actual value of the variable. Let us go to our IDE and implement this same program and look at the output together. So we are in our IDE. I will create a new program, Control N. I will just paste what we had. As you can see, this is sort. Sorry, sort is not supposed to be there. This is change, this is update, as you saw in the notes. Okay, I will save my program as subroutine test to C source file. Now, If we run this now, we realize that we're going to have the same output as we said. The values have changed. Now, there are certain things we need to understand here. If it's that I call change with the addresses of A and B, let us see what is going to happen. So if I run this, you see that I have the same output, but I have a lot of errors, which says that what passing arguments of change makes the integer from pointer without a cast. In that word, change was not the parameters here are not pointers. So when you are passing addresses, it's as if you are performing a conversion from integer to a pointer, which is not correct. But now, what if a particular function that uses pointer, you are calling it without the addresses? What will happen? You will still have warning, and you're not going to have an output, simply because this one is having pointers as parameters. So the arguments are expected to be of the same type. So that's why when you don't precise it, it does not perform its actual function. That is what we have, dear students, about parameter passing. So this example was just for you to see, to actually see how passing by value is different from passing by um, by reference. Very good. And now, some of you might pass pointers, but if at this level you remove this, that is, you remove the pointers, what are we going to have? Everything is okay, but the change will not be reflected. Yes, because the parameters you're passing are the pointers, but inside you're actually using a particular variable and not the pointer itself. So that is why when you're passing, you're writing a function that's supposed to be used argument by value, then make sure that the pointers you are passing as your parameter must be the same you are using in the block of your subroutine, as you can see. So if we run, we have back our original output, which is this: the values have changed. We move, dear students. Passing and calling arrays as arguments, very important concept. When writing a subroutine, having an array as formal parameter, if it is a one-dimensional array, its size need not be mentioned. That is, when you are using a particular subroutine which has as formal parameter a one-dimensional array, you can decide to omit the size. It will not cause an error. An example, you have void sort, where you have as parameter an array of size, an integer array of size 10, which is equivalent to saying an array of integer without mentioning the size. It is correct. But if it is a two-dimensional array, then the column must be specified. The row is must not be specified as well as it can be. So if you have, for example, marks, you have list, the row size 5, the column size 10 is equivalent to saying omit the row, but you mention the column, because the column must always be mentioned. If you don't mention the column, you are going to have an error. When calling a subroutine with an array as argument, we simply write the name of the array without precising its size. So, as for example, I have this particular subroutine sort. If I want to call sort with an array, let me say data of size 20, I will simply say sort in bracket. I will put data without any square bracket, without any size. I will just write the name of the array without anything else again. We are going to have an example with that. So let us look at the Northwest Regional Mock 2022, a very nice question which enable us to better understand how to write subroutine making use of arrays. Problem: a school is developing an electronic report card that will calculate students' averages and rank them automatically. The program is able to carry out various calculations but cannot sort student rank in either ascending or descending order. You are expected to solve this problem by implementing a subroutine that will sort the rank your computer science teacher has provided to you. To sort the rank, your computer science teacher has provided to you the bubble sort algorithm below to help you implement the solution. That is solve the algorithm we have. The best way to store student rank is use an integer array data structure. Task 1. In your answer booklet, give a declaration of the data structure that is array of 100 elements, rank of 100 students in either C or Pascal. Since you are using C, that is what we have. So I will simply have int rank size 100. That's all. You have your 1 mark already. The B part says, write an algorithm in your answer booklet for a procedure input rank that will allow the rank of the students to be entered. It should have as parameters the array of marks and the size of the array. Those are the parameters, the array of marks and the size of the array. And that is what we have. So I have Since it does not return a value, so it's a procedure, so I have void procedure input rank. Or we have another student could simply say void input rank is the same thing. So I have my array is a one-dimensional array, no need precising the size. And remember that in C and in algorithm it is different. So I have array integer, comma, the size n integer. And we all know that to input this is the algorithm we have. Since we introduce array, this is the same algorithm we are going to have. So I have my counter, then you have a message, enter the different ranks. So from I equals to 0 to n minus 1, what should we do? We print rank at position I, then we get that particular value. And that is all, dear students. So that is what we have for the 3 marks. Task 2 of the question now, what is very important. The A part says, write a programming language implementation of the algorithm in B of task 1 above. That is, we should write the in programming language the procedure input rank that will allow us to rank, that will allow the rank of the student to be entered in the array. We move to our IDE for that. So this is what we have. I will create a new program and I will have my hashtag include standard input output .h int main, my main program first of all, always. Then remember that we said when you are writing a program making use of array, it is always good that the size should be declared as global variable. So hashtag define size 100. Now let me say 10. 100 as it said in the question. Then I have my void input rank as parameter. I have my array, which is an integer. So I have int array. Then I have int n for the size. There is no need passing this size again as this one. No, never you use a global variable as a formal parameter. You can use a global variable when calling a particular subroutine, but never use a global variable as a formal parameter. Yes. So what do we have now? This is what we have. So I have my counter int I. Then I will say printf enter the ranks for I equals to 0, I is less than n, I increment printf mark percentage d I plus 1. Why I plus 1? Because if we enable the user to have to know that it is mark number 1, mark number 2, mark number 3, because you don't expect a lambda user to know that it is mark 0, mark 1. No, always start from number 1. That's why I use I plus 1. Then scanf, I take that particular rank. So percentage d, comma, ampersand array at position I. So that is what we have. We run this and see if there's an error. So I will now where's original mock 2018, 2022. Let's see. Good, no error. We move to the next question. We are done with the A part. The B part says write the programming language implementation of the procedure or function called bubble sort that sorts the rank of the students in ascending order. That is what we have. So we are supposed to convert this particular algorithm into a programming language. Let us look at it, dear students. Here we are. We know that it is a subroutine, a procedure. So I have my void bubble sort parameter an array, then the size. So since the parameter used in the algorithm is similar to this, I will prefer to use this with capital letter to show they are different. So now what do we have? Always take note that, dear students, majority of the subroutine that we given to you, variables in a subroutine will rarely be declared. You are the one to know that the variables have to be declared. But let me show you how to proceed with it. So some of you might not actually identify variables at the beginning. So I will convert the algorithm as it is given the question. Then together we shall be including the variables that are needed one by one. So I have for I equals to 0, it's set to size minus 1. So I less than or equals to size minus 1, another I increment. Then inside we have for j equals to 0, j less than or equals to size minus 1, j increment. What do we have? If array at position j is greater than list at position j plus 1, but list is not uh, is not given because we don't know anything about list. So I think that for those of you who passed through the lectures algorithm under the channel, you realize that the comparison is done on the same thing. So it's supposed to be array at position j plus 1. So I will still have array at position j plus 1. What do we do? If it is actually greater than, we have t takes array at position j, array at position j takes array at position j plus 1, then array at position j plus 1 takes t. That is what we have. Then we end if n4 n4, and that is all. So now if we run, we realize that we have error at line 12, and line 12 said that what I undeclared. So that's the first variable that was to be declared. To have int I. Look at I undeclared. When I run again, that error is no more there. Now it is j that is undeclared and t which is undeclared. So I will declare my j and my t, and realize that this error says each undeclared identifier is reported only once for each function it appears. So when I run this now, there is no more error. Everything is okay. We move now. So this our algorithm has been perfectly translated to a programming language. We move now to the next question. We are done with the B part. The C part says, write a modified programming language implementation of the procedure or function in B above called bubble sort desk. That sort the rank of the student in descending order. That is 3 marks. So if this is doing the same thing as ascending order, then for descending order, there is a little modification that needs to be done. So a simple copy paste. We can identify the modification. First of all, here I have desk, and the modification is that what this sign just need to change, and that is all. So we are okay with this question. Question C done. Now Deepa says write a main function and within its body declare an array to store the rank of 10 students and call the input rank function to populate it, call the procedure or function bubble sort that sort the rank ascending order, call the modify procedure or function bubble sort dex that sort the rank in descending order. Let us look at it, dear students. In this case, our array is of size 10. So first of all, I come and I change the size to 10. Then inside my main, I declared rank size. So you see that as we use 100 here, as it was the case, for some of you that we just come here and use 100, 100 and 100, you can simply come and just modify here and everything will be done. So I have my input size, then I call input rank. When I open, what is the array? The array here is rank. What is n here? N here is size. Then I call bubble sort with rank and size. Then I do the same thing with bubble sort desk. So let us run this and see. Mark 1, let me say 10, 15, 2, 9, 13, 10, 9, 5, 18, and finally 6. Nothing is being done. Yes, nothing is being done because we need a particular function to print the values of the array. So first of all, I need a printf. The ranks in ascending order are /n, and let me make sure that the array they are being displayed. I will make sure they are being displayed in a horizontal manner. So now this is descending order. So I'm going to create another subroutine, although it was not mentioned in the question. So a user could still come, a particular element, a particular student will come here and use a for loop for that, then come here and repeat the block of code. But we know that subroutine are there to avoid such problems. So I avoid display. It takes an array, integers, and the size. I have my counter. Then for I equals to 0, I less than n, I increment. What do we have? Printf %d/t. And what are we printing? We are printing the array at position I. So that is what we have. So let us run it now. So I need to call display. So here I call display with rank and size. No, this should be called after the sorting has been done. So here and here. Let us run and see. If I enter 12, 16, 10, 7, 18, 11, 13, 8, 5, then 19. It says the rank. First of all, let us arrange it. Let us make sure that after printing there is a new line. So printf /n. Good. So let us run now. The ranks in ascending order are 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12, 14. Descending order 18, 14, 12, 11, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So it's that it has been ranked correctly and perfectly well, dear students. So that is all what this program require, this particular mock require from students at the level of programming. So let us look at something. You realize that here when we're calling the subroutine bubble sort with rank, the name of the array, the size is not precise. If you try and precise the size, what do we have? We are going to have an error. Expected expression before. But let us say 45, that we are precising the size of the array. We still have an error because it says passing argument one of bubble sort makes pointer from integer without a cast. So it is not actually advisable to do that. So when you are calling your particular subroutine that has an array to be passed as argument, simply write the name of the array without precising any bracket or whatever the case. So thanks for watching the video. We reach the end of subroutine. I hope you enjoy the video and I have cleared out some of the doubts some of you had when it comes to arrays and subroutine. Nevertheless, join us in our WhatsApp group where we are going to be solving questions, answering programming questions under this particular subroutine, and see you in the next lesson where we shall start answering full programming papers on programming, where the different tips will be given to you on how to interpret each and every question. Thank you and see you in the next video.